am Mickey Ibarra, founder and chairman of the Latino Leaders Network. It is my honor to welcome all of you to today's Latino Leaders Luncheon series. This is actually the 11th in our series of luncheons that we began in 2004 with then Congressman Bob Menendez. Today we gather to honor and to listen to a Latino leader in the world of sports. Omar Minaya of the division-leading New York Mets. Here we go, Omar. Omar is the first Latino general manager in Major League Baseball history. And Omar, we are so very proud of you. We start our luncheons with a blessing of our food, a prayer offered by former Congressman Bobby Garcia. Bobby?
Omar, I just want you to know that I'm old enough to remember when you would be a dream, just a possibility. I remember baseball before Jackie Robinson. I sold peanuts in the Yankee Stadium before Jackie Robinson. As a Puerto Rican growing up in the South Bronx, and then as the congressman from the South Bronx, I can tell you without hesitation, and I hope the young people here understand that at every level that we can possibly go in whatever profession, to be able to get one of our own, not just to be a player, but to be the person in charge, in itself is a tremendous accomplishment. So please, don't take it for granted. This is a special human being. I'm a Yankee fan, but I root for you. I played ball with Whitey Ford. It shows you how old I am. But today, as a son of a minister from the South Bronx, as a lobbyist here in town, as a former congressman, I'm always delighted with Mickey. When Mickey started here after he left the Clinton administration, he started with just a thought, just a dream. And he himself, like yourself, is a pioneer. And I'm old enough to get away with saying that because as part of the beginning of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, to see where we are today, in baseball where you are today, I think it's terrific. And let's thank God for all of that, as well as the food. So shall we bow our heads? Lord, we thank you. We thank you for this special man who is our guest speaker today. We thank you, Lord, because you have taken us to new levels, to new heights. And let him not be the last, my Father. We're proud of him being the first. We want to make sure he's not the last. And so, my Father, as we thank you for all our blessings, and we thank you for what you represent to us, we thank you for this community of young leaders who are here today. Lord, we ask that you bless them, keep them, be with them in a very special way. We're your children, my Lord, and we depend on you. And in the name of your precious Son, we all say, amen.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you.
This luncheon series provides a platform for Latino leaders to convene quarterly to share their personal stories of obstacles overcome to achieve success. By so doing, the Latino Leaders Network hopes this luncheon helps bring our leaders together to get better acquainted with each other, to help each other, to listen to each other, to be better to each other. The mission of the Latino Leaders Network is just that simple, bringing leaders together. We see ourselves as dedicated to help building each other up. Others may try to tear us down. Our responsibility in this room is to build each other up. Don't you agree? Earlier today at the Latino Issue Hour, the Latino Leaders Network announced the launch of Latinos on the Hill, the first ever congressional directory that will highlight Latino staff serving the United States Congress and the American people, as well as our other national Latino leaders, many of them in the room today. The first edition will be published and distributed early next month, with a more comprehensive edition ready in the spring of 2008, following at least 6 months of extensive research with the goal of identifying every Latino employed by the United States Congress and who they work for. We think it is important for us to shine the light on the many Latinos that serve on the Hill, and we're very hopeful that you'll agree. We are very, very grateful for the support of both Pharma and MAT.org to make this publication possible. That's Mexicans and Americans Thinking Together, MAT.org. The Latino Leaders Luncheon series is made possible by Verizon Communications and the Coca-Cola Company. We are grateful for their long-standing support of the Latino community. In addition, we are also thankful to Marlene Culis, Henry Dominguez, Jesus Rangel of the Anheuser-Busch Company for sponsoring our pre-luncheon reception, and also to Lydia Martinez of Southwest Airlines, the official airlines of the Latino Leaders Network. I would like to now invite our sponsors for brief remarks, and then I want to acknowledge some of the special guests that we have here in the room with us today. With us to deliver sponsor remarks for Verizon is Magda Irizarry. We still miss her in Washington. Magda is now at company headquarters in New Jersey, serving as Vice President, Workplace Culture, Diversity, and Compliance. And I love it whenever I see diversity and compliance in the same title, don't you? Magda Irizarry, please.
Thank you, Mickey, for your leadership, for your vision. It's proud to be here again with Coca-Cola so many years later. We started out with a luncheon, and now it's an institution. It's the network. And it's the power of the network, Verizon, that I'm here to talk to you about. No, it's all of us together that takes this to another level. And I want to thank also the board of the network, as well as Michelle, the staff, and everybody that brings us together to celebrate the accomplishments of the Latino community. In particular, we're here today to hear about, as Congressman Garcia described, the pioneer Omar Minaya. And I want to congratulate Omar, and I want to thank him for really creating a platform from which many others will now speak, will play, will move. So many others in this room, I thank you as well, because like Omar, you have been pioneers, truly just opening and breaking down barriers. And that's why Verizon is here to celebrate, because it's not only what's been done, but it's also what's yet to be done. And we want to be part of the solution. So I thank everybody for believing que sí se puede. I want to thank everybody for persevering, for understanding that it's about skill, it's about talent, it's about faith, it's about community, it's about ganas. that against all odds, people like Mickey, Omar, and all of us gathered today continue to rise to the occasion to, as Omar's been described as having said, opening the circle. That's so powerful to think about. Let's continue to open the circle, and let's continue to raise the bar so that even greater accomplishments can be achieved, not only by Latinos, but by all Americans, by all people created by the same God. I want to just draw a couple of parallels about Verizon and the New York Mets that I think are telling. First of all, we don't rest on past success. We're always raising the bar to the next level. Yesterday's game is not as important as today's. So I'll be brief so you can get to that game. But it's stepping up the game. We're stepping up our game. We're building the fastest, most reliable fiber network the world will know. And what's cool is that is being led by a woman at Verizon, Virginia Rustaholt. So we understand that diversity is diversity in its broadest context, and so do the New York Mets, always rising to the next level. We also, like the New York Mets, have the privilege of operating in the most diverse space you can imagine. New York as one, but our region is more diverse than the nation as a whole, and we consider that a privilege, and we understand that in order to better serve that market, we have to reflect and mirror that market in our workforce at all levels, on the playing field, in the boardroom, in the general manager's office. We understand that well, and we share that commitment that everybody plays. Everybody has a chance to succeed, and together we continue to win. We also understand our commitment to a broader community. It's not just about Verizon. It's about the society we're called to serve. We believe we do something of meaning, that we bring power, that we enable communities and businesses and people. And so do the Mets. They understand that very well. They're creating dreams for children that never began dreaming the dreams they dream now. They continue to invest in communities like Queens by not leaving that community, but instead investing multi-millions of dollars into creating jobs and a beacon of hope that says, dare to dream. And Verizon partners in lots of dream making. And we want to be considered way makers, people that together with all of you leaders in this room, organizations in this room, continue to make a difference. We consider ourselves privileged. We thank you for the opportunity to serve with you. And again, Omar, thank you for what you represent. And to all of us, let's always remember something I remind myself every day. To whom much is given, much is expected. We've been given much. Let's deliver on our promises. Thanks.
Second, the Coca-Cola Company. Representing the Coca-Cola Company is Frank Ross, Associate Vice President for Latin Affairs and team captain of the 1981 National Football Champions from the University of Georgia. Okay, here's our man, Frank Ross.
Muchas gracias, Mickey. That happened a long time ago. And the only person I really remember from that team is Herschel Walker. And I was talking earlier, and I told Omar, I said, yeah, I told Herschel one day, I was his big brother on the team, you kind of look after each other. I said, yep, you're making millions, but I'm selling Coca-Cola. So we're doing okay. But when I started this, and on behalf of our chairman, Neville Esdale, and the over 50,000 Coca-Cola associates worldwide, I want to thank you for being here today. I would like to recognize one of my colleagues who's here today, and I've gotten to know her very well over the last year. She's pretty new to our company, but once you meet her, you realize she's a really special person. I consider her one of the best government relations individuals in the country, but more importantly, she's a great person. I do want to recognize Tammy Jackson, who's here with us. Stand up, Tammy. She recently got a promotion. She won't say it, but she recently got a promotion, just moved to D.C. She used to work in D.C., moved to headquarters in Atlanta, is back in D.C., but she's a wonderful person. And also, as he's been from the beginning, it's a great honor to be a co-sponsor of the Latino Leaders event with, of course, our friends at Verizon, and Magda always does a great job, and all the other friends. I saw a bunch of the Verizon people here today. Y'all came in mass. Y'all taking over? As always, I also want to thank Mickey Ibarra and his wonderful staff at Ibarra & Associates for providing Latino leaders and others that are willing to make a difference the opportunity to come together quarterly and learn from knowledgeable and dynamic individuals such as today's speaker, Omar Minaya, who's Executive Vice President and General Manager of New York Mets. A trailblazer in his own right by helping break down barriers, and he's opening doors for other Hispanics who aspire to have front office positions in the major leagues. And he's putting his mark in baseball, and he's creating the Latin Dream Team with the Mets. And of course, we all want to wish him all the best, and I look forward to hearing from him speak today. Coca-Cola may well be known mostly for the shape of our bottle, but we are also passionate about the shaping the world, and we'll do it one community at a time. The Coca-Cola Company has a long history of giving back to the communities it serves. It's part of the thread that makes up the fabric of our business. And as a result, and you can ask any Coke employee, it is a great sense of pride for us to be associated with a company that has done more to help more communities and people in more places around the world than any other company in history. And our goal is not just to be a good corporate citizen, but to set the standard on good corporate citizenship by helping build sustainable communities. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Can we strengthen communities? Because if you do that, everybody benefits. It's our beloved and former chairman and CEO, Roberto Gosueto, used to say, besides being the right thing to do, it's smart business. Again, we look forward to continuing to work with you and other leaders, both in the public and private sector, to strengthen the Latino community. Besides being the right thing to do, we also recognize that a strong Hispanic community also means a stronger and better America. Again, thank you and enjoy the rest of the luncheon.
I also want to mention from Coca-Cola, Rudy Becerra, who Frank works very closely with. As you know, that we have the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in convention today and throughout the week in Puerto Rico, and that's where Rudy is. Also, two important members of the Verizon team that I just think the world of, and all of you know, and that is both Keith Fulton and Emilio Gonzalez, again, from Verizon. Now, I mentioned that our purpose, bringing leaders together. So I want you to bear with me a bit. I want you all to know several of the leaders that are in the room today. And you're all leaders. You're all leaders and important people. Well, you wouldn't be here in this room. But there are some that we want you to know, and including Mayor Adam Ortiz of Edmonston, Maryland. Mayor, would you please stand? And I'm delighted that we are also joined by Councilman Claude Maddox of Phoenix, Arizona today. Councilman, perhaps mayor someday. We also have Tom Perez. Many of you remember Tom as the council president in Montgomery County, Maryland, is now serving as Secretary of Labor for the governor and the state of Maryland. Tom, where are you at? Okay, Tom Perez, yeah. We also have former Governor Bob Weiss of West Virginia with us. We're delighted to have the governor here. I see Ron Blackburn Moreno, the National Hispanic Leadership Agenda Chair, as well as ASPIDA President. Ron, thank you. Brent Wilkes, the National Executive Director of LULAC, is with us. Brent? I also see Alma Riojas, the MANA President. Alma. Jose Antonio Tijerino, who's the President and CEO of the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. Jose Antonio, are you here? Okay, there we go. Thank you. Also, Gabriela Limas, the Executive Director of LACLA, is with us. Tom Oliver, President of the National Association of Hispanic Publications. Tom, right here. Also, Carlos Horta, President and CEO of the Hispanic Association on Corporate Responsibility. Jose. Roger Rivera, President, National Hispanic Environmental Council. Roger. Cristina Caballero, President and CEO of Dialogue on Diversity. We also have a wonderful friend, a great leader, and a person that deserves far more recognition than I'm sure she receives every day, and that's Carmen Lomelin, who is the Executive Secretary of the Inter-American Commission on Women at the OAS. Finally, I wanted to mention a former colleague of mine at the White House, a leader in his own right, Al Malden, who is now the Senior Vice President, External Affairs for the Washington Nationals baseball team, and also serves as the president of their National Dream Foundation. Al, are you still here with us? There we go, right here, Al. At each luncheon, we reserve a 3-minute portion of our program. Not 4, 3. 3-minute portion of our program to highlight an organization that is doing good in our community. And today, we have the privilege of welcoming Victor Capellan, the new president of the Dominican American National Roundtable. Victor enjoys the title of president, but he also enjoys the title of principal. The principal of EBC Bushwick High School for Public Service in Brooklyn. Please welcome Victor Capellan.
Thank you so much. And yes, I have a couple of assistant principals back at the school taking care of things. Thank you, Mickey, Ibarra, and thank you to the Latino Leaders Network for inviting the Dominican American National Roundtable to participate in this very distinguished event. As a native of the Dominican Republic, who was a little boy, used to be an avid baseball player and dream, as every Dominican little boy, of playing in the major leagues, it is great for me to be here today with Omar Minaya, who we are very proud of. Estamos orgullosos de ti. Gracias siempre por representarnos como dominicanos. Te damos las gracias. And although I did not become a Major League ball player, unless you need another Dominican on the team, let me know. Always trying to get recruited. But I did become principal of a great high school in Brooklyn, New York, and we have an awesome baseball team. So I hope that some of my students make it to the majors someday. And also I get to be president of the Dominican American National Roundtable, which is an organization that is a nonpartisan organization based here in Washington, D.C., and it is the first and only national organization advocating on behalf of Dominican Americans in areas concerning education, health, economic development, immigration, and civic empowerment at the national level. This year, we're celebrating our 10th annual anniversary, and we have grown from a small group of community leaders to a national advocacy group with members across the country and a strong presence here in Washington, D.C. The Dominican community is a thriving community in the United States, with individuals contributing to every part of American society, from sports, as is the case with our baseball players, to business, as it is with our entrepreneurs, to education, health, and every other part of American life. Dominicans are part of the American fabric, and we also maintain a strong tie to our native country, the Dominican Republic. The Roundtable, through our programs such as the Youth Leadership Institute, the annual Dominicans on the Hill program, where we visit with members of Congress to further our national agenda, And with our main event, the Dominican American National Roundtable Annual Conference, we're able to organize and bring together the different voices of Dominicans throughout the United States. We also work together with the other Latino organizations, and with them, we have become a national forum for analysis, planning, and action to advance the interests of Dominican Americans in the United States. We are excited about what we have accomplished in the last 10 years, and we're excited about where we are going in the future. Before I end, I'd like to acknowledge some of the board members who are here with me today. Thank you also for making the trip from different parts of the country, some of the board members who are here with us today. And finally, I invite all of you to our 10th anniversary conference, which will be in Miami, November 30th to December 2nd. Great time to come to Miami. So you're invited to be a part of this great organization. Thank you so much. And Omar, all the best with the rest of the season. Thank you.
The Latino Leaders Network has expanded its media coverage by forming key media partnerships in Spanish and English to include the Hispanic Radio Network, El Tiempo Latino newspaper, the Latino Leaders magazine, and HITN TV. HITN TV broadcasts this event nationally on Dish TV and DirecTV and other cable providers. We thank our media partners for helping us extend the reach of this event to our community. Wendy Lewis, Vice President of Strategic Planning for Recruitment and Diversity for Major League Baseball, Office of the Commissioner, has agreed to introduce our keynote speaker, Omar Minaya. Now, when I first met Wendy in New York City, it was last December, to really seek her support for identifying the right baseball leader to invite to this forum. Wendy was so kind as she listened to my whole stream of possibilities, players, managers, coaches, paused briefly and said, Omar Minaya. And I'm going to help you encourage him to accept this invitation. So who better to introduce today to all of you Omar Minaya than Wendy Lewis. Wendy, thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. And thank you all. Actually, I want to direct my first remarks to Omar. And Omar, I want to share with you one of my favorite passages. It's Hebrews 11, verse 1. So just remember 11:1. And his faith is the assurance of things seen, without the evidence being there. Another way to say it is, faith is believing in advance what will only make sense in reverse. Ladies and gentlemen, I start that way because you all know a lot about Omar, more than some of you did when you got here, and some of you, because you're such a fan of his work, know more than you've been told today. But what you may not know is that he is a man of faith. He has faith in God, he has faith in his family, and he believes in values. So before he comes up here to talk to you, I'd like you to please keep Omar in your hearts, because he's worthy of your admiration. I ask you to keep Omar in your mind, because you need to listen to what he has to say. And most importantly, I ask you to keep Omar in your prayers, because he will continue to be blessed. Ladies and gentlemen, Omar Minaya.
Please.
Thank you, Wendy. God, I'm not accustomed to being praised so much here. In the middle of a pennant race, you know what I'm saying? I'm not used to, how can I say that? Wendy did speak to me and told me this winter about having the opportunity to do this, and hopefully that I'll be able to come and speak to the Latino network. And, you know, when she told me in season, I'm always a little bit shy of speaking engagement in season, because as the general manager of a baseball team, especially here in September, you know, you tell yourself, wow, we're going to be in a pennant race. I don't want to be able to spend so much time. You know, I have to focus on doing my job as a general manager. And I know we are one game, and you know, it was said that in the morning, that early on, that, you know, we are the first place New York Mets today. But I'll tell you what, that's a very thin first place, because we're only 1.5 games up. You know, it is an honor for me to be here, and I want to thank the organization for having me here. It's, you know, being a leader, Latino leader, and being just a leader in general is something that when you are a leader, you take upon some responsibilities. You know, Wendy, you're right. For me, you know, God has blessed me to be here today. But I also want to say that God has blessed us all, because all of us that are here are leaders. And with that blessing comes a responsibility. A little bit about myself is I was born in the Dominican Republic. My parents immigrated to New York City. My father was a factory worker. My mother was a factory worker. I was fortunate enough to go to a public school system in New York. I was fortunate enough to have two parents that were loving parents, that were there, that was always supporting me. But at the end of the day, when you grow up in the streets of New York in the early 60s, there are a lot of avenues that you can, a lot of choices that you can make. Those choices were in front of me, and one choice that I chose to do was baseball. I love baseball. Coming from the Dominican Republic, it is a country that loves baseball. For Latinos, we talk about role models, and we have them all kind. Baseball is one that is, in my country and in the neighborhood that I grew up with, we idolize. I could tell you that early on, you know, I grew up playing in the streets of New York. I grew up playing stickball. If anybody grew up in New York or you grew up in the inner cities, stickball was what we did. I was playing out there in center field, playing in the streets, and I was Willie Mays or I was Mickey Mantle. And I can tell you what, I visualize, and you're talking about dreaming, my dreams was to be a Major League Baseball player. But that did not happen. I did end up playing professional baseball, played with the Oakland Athletics, I played with the Seattle Mariners, and I went on to play in Europe. And what a wonderful experience that was to play in Europe, to be able to understand another continent, to be able to understand diversity. Diversity, yes, that's something that a lot of people have kind of, when they think of Omar Minaya, and there was an article written on Sports Illustrated about this big, and there's a great writer by the name of Gary Smith describing the world of O because of Omar. Diversity is what I grew up, what I believe I'm all about. I grew up in Queens, New York, Jackson Heights, Elmhurst, and it is one of the most diverse area in the country. Remember the 7 train? Those here remember the 7 train and remember John Rocker? Well, I am a product of the 7 train. Very proud of, my parents were product of that 7 train. They were products of coming home from a factory and being in that diverse world. I love growing up in New York because, you know, when you grew up in New York, you become open, really you come in contact with so many different diverse culture. That diversity, God prepared for me to put me where I am today. God has a way of working things out for us, and sometimes that we say to ourselves, we look back and we go through, look back in our lifetime, and God put us in certain situations for later on to be able to use it to not only for the better of society, but for the better of however God's wishes for us. I can tell you that, baseball today is something that is really, when you look at Latinos and you look at the players and the impact that baseball today is doing in our society and our role models, it is something that, you really think about that, the impact and the ability that we have in leadership, in baseball, to impact our society and create hope and create opportunities for those of us. The reason we're here today is because about networking. What is net? We want to come together today because we want to be able to network. As a general manager of a team, I have a responsibility. I myself have a responsibility to be able to bring people together for the best of the organization, to bring people together, whether it's players, whether it's managers, whether it's coaches, whether it's other business people, okay? As a general manager, I have a responsibility and I have the opportunity to bring everybody together for the common good. And I feel as a general manager, when I look at Manny Acta, who is the manager of the Washington National, Manny was needed to be given an opportunity. And he was given an opportunity with the Montreal Expos, and today he is the manager of the Washington Nationals. For those of you who are National fans, you got yourself a good manager. But Manny Acta was given an opportunity. He was given an opportunity, and that's what it really is. Back to what you say, Wendy. What's even more important is dreaming. I can talk about dreams. That's one thing that I can talk about because, you know what? Growing up, it was a dream for me to be a center fielder. It was a dream for me to be out there and be Willie Mays. But the reality is that was not going to happen because I did not have the physical ability. But because not having those physical abilities, I basically had to tell myself, Omar, what are you going to do? What is it that God has in store for you? And I thought about that, and I started telling to myself, you know what? I know one thing. I may not be a good enough baseball player because I don't have the physical ability. But I do if I put my passion and all I was taught to be a good baseball player and do those things in whatever field God leads for me, okay, I will be a success. I know that. And you will also be a success. I will tell you this. Whatever you put your passion in, and when you believe in those dreams, there'll be obstacles along the way. There'll be obstacles along the way that some people will tell you, well, nobody has ever done that. Well, you know what? That's the challenge. Because nobody has ever done that, that is the challenge why you want to go after it. Somebody has said to me, Omar, nobody has ever been a general manager. Nobody has been a general manager. And really, even today, I had to go for about 8 to 10 interviews. I was the bridesmaid in most of these interviews. The bridesmaid, I was always the one. He said, you know what, we didn't hire you, but you were number 2. And I know we've all heard that along the way. And that challenge there before us. And, for me, it's about meeting people, being open-minded. I told myself, you know what, there has not been a general manager. I want to be, Lord willing, I'm going to be a general manager or the first general manager. But how do I get there? You're not going to get there through bitterness. Along the way, you're going to come to situations where you're going to get frustrated, where you're going to come to situations where people are going to tell you, quote unquote, we've heard this all along, they're racist. Somewhere along the line, you're going to feel, you know what, it's just failure. After 8 to 10 times, of going to general managers up and being the bridesmaid, it's pretty easy to give up. But you know what? Our parents, being immigrant that we are today, our heritage in this month, okay, too many people struggle too much to get to where we are today. And we are blessed to be able to live in this beautiful country. And we all know right now, as immigrants, we have issues that we have to talk about. But you know what? We've been given the mantle. We've been given just the baton to move this forward. It is our responsibility to do that. And when you've been given that responsibility, we have the ability, okay? We have to continue the faith, and we have to continue the networking. We have to continue to believe in ourselves, and we have to continue to help others believe in themselves. You know, responsibility, it's without action. You know, it's a great movie. Growing up in New York, there was a movie called The Bronx Tale. I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie. I'm a big fan of The Bronx Tale, you know, because as a street kid, and there's a kid in that movie, and I recommend you guys see it, by the name of C. That movie deals with diversity. It deals with those issues, you know, and it talks about talent. It's nothing worse than wasted talent. You know, when it's all said and done, I told myself, you know, Omar, you know, as a baseball player, I did my best. I was not a good hitter. I was a great hitter in high school. Those aluminum bats were great, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But reality kicked in. You know, reality kicked in, and those aluminum bats, you know, were great. But then when it was fastball and it was 2-0, or it was 1-0, and they threw that changeup, or they threw that pitch inside, the ground ball to second, it was over and over, over and over. But you know what? I tried my best, and I didn't make it. But I told myself as a general manager, because you know what? Now we're going to new, you know, we have the great players, but along the line, now we're getting to the areas of who controls the budget. Because you can be a great player. You know, Jackie Robinson said, you know, he wanted to die. He wanted to see a man. This is Jackie. Jackie said, I want to see a third base coach. That's what he said. Well, we're in areas right now, we don't want to see a third base coach. Okay? We want to see a manager. We want to see a general manager. We want to see a team president. We want to see a team owner. Okay? And believe me when I tell you is that we will see that. But we, all of us, have to encourage our group. And I don't mean only Latino, because I don't believe in just this little group of things. I'm big on diversity. I grew up, you know, as I said, in a very multi-diverse place, and that's the blessing. To me, for us to move forward is to be able to interact with everybody, because we live in a beautiful and a wonderful, great country. You know, I know we are having issues right now as far as immigration, but you know what? The fact of the matter is that, you know, we can change that. We have the ability to change that. And we will change that. I guarantee you that. We'll change that because, you know what? This is what America is about. And the truth of the matter is, I feel very fortunate and blessed that God has put me in my position to be able to share my experiences with youth, the same thing with older people. And I do believe that, you know, our society, we have a lot of wisdom available to us, but it's up to us to use it. You know, if I can leave you with anything today, what I'd like to leave you with, as Wendy said before, you know, when I became a general manager, I went to John Sherholtz. If you know, the Atlanta Braves have won a lot of championships, a lot of division, and I thought he's the best general manager. For me, I've always believed in, you know, go to the best. Go ask advice to the best. Go ask somebody. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And be honest when you talk to people, and just tell them how you feel. You know, hey, you know, like I said, so it was brought to my attention. I was fortunate enough to work with the President of the United States. And I tell you what, you know, he's a friend. And when we worked together in Texas, you know, to this day, you know, if I have to ask him a question, I'm not afraid to go ask our president a question. But one thing that I learned along the way, you know, was that, you know, whether it's the President of the United States or where I work in Shea Stadium and the people that clean the spikes of the players, you know what? When you talk to them, they're all the same. And believe me when I tell you that, don't be afraid to go and ask questions no matter who it is. And you'll be surprised who will you be able to get your best advice from. And to finish off what I said with John Sherholtz told me, I said, John, what does it take to be a good general manager? What does it take? He said to me a very simple answer. He said, Omar, he said, let me tell you something about yourself, okay? And I said, I know a little bit about you. Tell me a little bit about your parents. Just tell me a little bit about your parents. And I told him about them. And he said, listen, to be a great general manager is just listen to what your parents say. Just keep that in the back of your mind. And if you do that, you will be a success. I want to share that with everybody here, especially the young people. But most of all, I just want to share that, for me, it is an honor to be a general manager of the New York Mets, to be the first general manager, Hispanic general manager, to be able to be here in Washington today in the middle of a pennant race. And boy, I hope we win today. I'll tell you what. I hope we win today, But, trust yourself and don't ever stop dreaming, because in this nation, in this country, we are blessed to be here. And don't stop dreaming, because if you stop dreaming, you are shortchanging those that came before you and those that are in front of you. God bless you. Thank you very much for having me.
Those we honor with the Nambe Eagle Leadership Award understand their personal responsibility to help others achieve as well. They help us bring leaders together. Omar, on behalf of the Latino Leaders Network, I am pleased to present you with this Nambe Eagle Leadership Award in recognition of your outstanding contribution to our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're right on time. The final Latino Leaders Luncheon Series and Issue Hour of 2007 will be held on Tuesday, November 6th, here at the Capitol Hilton, featuring award-winning journalist Maria Hinojosa of Latinos USA on NPR, the Weekly Now news show on PBS, and One-on-One, a TV interview program of Latino leaders from WGBH in Boston. Second, a special Latino Leaders Network Youth Luncheon in partnership with Jose Antonio Tijerino and the Hispanic Heritage Foundation will be held here on October 11th, featuring actor and producer Wilmer Valderrama. I'd like to invite you to visit the LatinoLeadersNetwork.org for further information. Again, a special youth luncheon on October 11th. Please join me now in thanking Michelle Mingus Moore, the Executive Director of the Latino Leaders Network, also our Board of Directors, Ruben Alvarez, Raul Rubio, Maria Teresa Peterson, and David Ibarra for bringing our leaders together. Thank you. Finally, media partner publications, sponsor material, and other items, including your very own issue of the June 18th Sports Illustrated featuring Omar Minaya on the cover, are available for you on the distribution table just out the ballroom, so please stop by. Again, I want to thank Omar Minaya, also Wendy Lewis, to our sponsors and media partners for their support, and thank all of you for attending this Latino Leaders Luncheon Series event. Thank you.